Hello and welcome to Citizen Lobby Day training number 1. This is the first of 4 trainings leading up to our big Citizen Lobby Day during our NCLC conference in Washington, D.C. on September 29th. The conference is going to be September 27th, 28th, and 29th. The Citizen Lobby Day will be on September 29th. My name is Mike Mineta. I am the Vice President of Volunteer Advocacy and Training here at American Promise. And first and foremost, I just want to encourage you to be part of this with us. Definitely sign up. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But this is one of the most exciting, one of the biggest days of the year for American Promise and the movement as a whole. The movement to get an amendment to deal with the big money special interest takeover of our government. This is an opportunity to go and let your members of Congress know that this is an issue that you really care about and you want them to prioritize. I want to give you first just an overview of what to expect on this training tonight. I'll give you an overview of the NCLC event coming up, how to register, what is a Citizen Lobby Day. We've got some new volunteers on the call tonight who might be new to this experience, so we want to make sure that we cover the fundamentals tonight. And as we go forward with the trainings leading up to the event in September, the trainings will get a little bit more involved. But tonight's going to be pretty straightforward. What is a Citizen Lobby Day? What is the 4R Freedom Amendment that we're going to be advocating during that Citizen Lobby Day? What is going to be the structure and plan for Citizen Lobby Day this year? Some basic stuff again, how to look up your members of Congress, the process for scheduling meetings for NCLC this year. It's going to be different than it's been in the past as far as the actual scheduling. And what you can do right now to get involved and start taking action. I have created a resource page for you. So Alan, can you drop this in the chat for me too? Or can someone? This page is going to be the resource page for the Citizen Lobby Day all the way up until the event. It's a redirect. It goes to a Google Doc right now with some important links that we'll be covering tonight. It'll eventually be a website page, most likely, but Google Doc works totally fine too for this purpose. But just want you to know this is available, americanpromise.net/CLD for Citizen Lobby Day. You can access some important links that way. So first off, National Citizen Leadership Conference. The dates are going to be September 27th, 29th. This is an event that most people on this call are familiar with, I know, but some might not be. So it's a chance for all of us in this movement to come together and to learn, hear from different speakers that care about this issue, really just connect in person, which is, obviously something that a lot of us have been sort of lacking over the last few years. The world is slowly coming back to normal where we can actually meet up in person again. So it's going to be pretty awesome, I think. It's at a really nice hotel. I'll show you in just a second here as far as some of the details. But to register, it's pretty straightforward. I will walk you through that in just a minute just to show you how easy it is. But the website again is nclc.info, right in the center of the screen here in the highlight. And that's also linked in that resource document I just shared with you. So we've got some pretty cool speakers this year. Andrew Yang of the Yang Gang and Forward Party Now is going to be speaking. Republican State Senator Rick Bennett will be there. We've got Dean Phillips, Democrat from Minnesota, Congressman. We've got Evangeline Lilly, who some of you might know from the Marvel stuff, is going to be speaking. We've got Aaliyah Bhatia. She is the executive director of Vote ER. The conference is going to be at the Mayflower Hotel, which is pretty awesome. So it's just going to be a really good experience all around this year, with speakers and panels and breakouts, those kinds of things. All right, so I'm quickly going to go over how you register for NCLC and our Citizen Lobby Day. Pretty simple. Just go to the nclc.info, click on register. I guess I'll go through it real quick here. Hometown. Okay, next. And then it's going to give you some options here. So make sure that you check you're going to attend the conference and Lobby Day. If you're going, what an opportunity. You might as well. You're already in DC, chance to go to Capitol Hill, have a really fulfilling experience with other civic-minded people around the country, talk to people in Congress, talk to their staffers, get to know what that experience is like. So I highly encourage you, if you are registering for the conference, to check both of those. And then, are you going to be attending the dinners and other social events? Send me more information. Obviously, I recommend, checking off all of those if they apply to you, if possible. And then, just some optional stuff if you want to tell us why you're planning to attend. And then go through the process, hit next, and then that's it. You're signed up, and I will be in contact with you. I'm going to make sure that every person that signs up is welcomed. And I'll talk through, if you're going to be going to Citizen Lobby Day, I'll make sure that you have the resources and that you're fully prepared for that. What's our goal when we're actually going to be in these meetings on that day? And I love this quote by Brian Boyle, who is actually on the call tonight. Hello, Brian. If there is a path out of the darkness, it is through our Constitution. In a nation committed to the promise of self-government, our founding charter is how we address our deepest challenges. And a couple of things that I really would like everyone to get out of this training and all the trainings leading up to this event and hopefully participating in the event is, one, just the skills to be able to do it, right? To be able to go and talk to your legislators, to feel comfortable in that process, because it's extremely important. It's the way our democratic process was set up, right? They're supposed to represent us. The only way that they're going to know what we care about is if we actually go and talk to them about it. Secondly, I hope that we start to believe in the Constitution again, right? We start to understand and believe that this document can actually still work, right? Like at this point in time, we're all so cynical, right? And there's the polls that show like up to 90% or more, 95% of people understand that there's a crisis, that the government is broken, but they don't believe anything can be done about it. So that's one of the things that I really hope we do here at American Promise is renew people's faith in the Constitution, because it is still there. It is going to work if enough of us stand up and demand change to it. It's happened before. It's been a while since we've had a meaningful amendment, but we're definitely due, and it's going to happen. So the For Our Freedom Amendment, just again, a brief overview of what it is. We'll have more detailed trainings as we go forward, but I just want to make sure everyone understands sort of what we're advocating for here. First of all, you need an amendment, just for anybody who might be very new to this, because the Supreme Court has been so disastrous on campaign finance reform. Just year after year, they've taken away decades or more of precedents of allowing us to have common sense limitations on our spending in our elections. And the Supreme Court is just not going in the right direction. They continue to double down and go the other way. So the only way that you can correct that we can correct that as a country, is to go above them with a US constitutional amendment. The Constitution is the law of the land. And if we can add an amendment that makes it clear that we are no longer okay with the dominance of big money and special interest in our elections, then that will be the law of the land. So that's why we need an amendment. Just a quick overview. And again, this is linked in that resource document that I laid out there. Brian did an excellent legal briefing on it. If you really want to dive into the details, you can do that. That's linked there for you. But just want to go through this really quickly. Section 1, we the people have compelling sovereign interests in representative self-government, federalism and the integrity of our electoral process, and the political equality of natural persons. This section aims to create a constitutional self-consciousness with the people at the center, which is reinforced and enhanced through the 4 terms it mentions. It also uplifts the concept of group action for the common good. Section 2, nothing in this Constitution shall be construed to forbid Congress of the states within their respective jurisdictions from reasonably regulating and limiting contributions and spending in campaigns, elections, or ballot measures. This section aims to end the era of Buckley v. Vallejo, this US Supreme Court ruling that initially viewed political spending as free speech and invalidated campaign finance regulations federally, at the state level and locally. It also would prompt a new constitutional look at Buckley and other cases. Section 3, Congress and the states shall have the power or freedom to implement and enforce this article by appropriate legislation, and may distinguish between natural persons and artificial entities, including by prohibiting artificial entities from raising and spending money in campaigns, elections, or ballot measures. The final section says Congress and the states can enforce the amendment and potentially prohibit campaign spending by special interest groups, organizations, and non-human entities. And I'm sorry, I forgot to mention in that document with the resources, I'm sure you saw it if you were able to open it, but there is a link in there to submit questions. So at the end, I will try to prioritize some of the questions that came in and try to get to as many as I possibly can. But if you want to ask a question, you can do it through that resource document that should be in the chat. So at its essence, what this amendment is going to do is it's going to empower the states and Congress to be able to go back to common sense campaign finance laws. And it's true that Vermont might want to do stronger campaign finance laws than, say, Alabama or Texas. But I can tell you from firsthand experience, I have been in this movement for over 10 years, and I've had hundreds of legislative meetings from people really all across the political spectrum. And the one thing that everyone seems to agree on is we must have this power to do what's right for us in our state, because what works in Pennsylvania might not work in Hawaii. I believe, and I have believed for a while, that this is the amendment that is going to ultimately get ratified. Because when you need 75% of the states to agree, it's got to be something super populist, very bipartisan. And I really believe that this is it. So just know that as you're preparing for these meetings, that this amendment that we're advocating for is something very easy to talk to with legislators, actually. So now we get to the preparation. And I love this quote by Abe Lincoln because I think it's so fitting to what we're trying to do here, and particularly with the Citizen Lobby Day. You got to be organized. And this quote says it all. So give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. So in a lot of ways, that's what we have to do with these big events that we put on. We've got to prepare for 60, 75% of the time. And then when the day comes, you're prepared and your chances of success are much higher. So Marie, as I was going through a lot of the past American Promise resources, I found this story that Marie told a while ago about her first day on Capitol Hill doing this. And I thought it was just so perfect. So I asked her to come on and tell it. So Marie, can you just tell your story about preparation?
Absolutely. So as Mike had mentioned, a key piece of advice to have a successful experience in lobby day meetings is to take the time to prepare. We've used a model guideline to plan the format of a meeting with an elected official, including roles for speakers and formats for holding the discussion with the staff member or the elected official that you've been scheduled to meet with. And the guidelines will be reviewed at some point. I'm not exactly sure when, Mike, but you're going to be going over the guidelines in this series of lobby day trainings. This is the story of my firsthand proof and my group from New Jersey's proof of how important it is to make the effort and take the time to prepare. So back in June of 2018, the National Citizen Leadership Conference that occurred that month was the first time that my New Jersey group and I had attended. And it was the first time we were going to have the opportunity to meet with our members of Congress on Capitol Hill. At the time, we had 4 separate local chapters in New Jersey. There were different parts of the state. We really hadn't even all met each other. We'd had maybe a little conversation on the phone, by email, and we'd all lunched in 2017. So we were newbies. And we had differing amounts of experience in doing meetings with members of Congress. Some had no experience whatsoever. Others had done 1 or 2 local in-district meetings before that, but never with more than 4 or 5 of our members. But that year, we did have a great turnout from New Jersey. We had a little bit more than a dozen members that went, as far as I remember. And we scheduled for Lobby Day, we scheduled our first 2 meetings of the day with our senators, because we figured that way we could all attend together, and then we could disperse and see our various congressional members in the afternoon. So we'd spent a little bit of time before going to the conference, sort of deciding who wanted to actually speak. And we spent some time sitting down, deciding who was going to speak, went through the guideline, prepared even what we were going to say, and actually had rehearsals. We practiced, and we did that at least twice during the lead up to actual Lobby Day. So the morning of lobby day. We felt a little nervous, but we were ready. And we went over, and our first meeting in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, was with our Senator Menendez. And we got over there a little bit early, and we were ushered into the meeting room, and the staffer came in. We were meeting with the staffer, and he had started to do introductions, and all of a sudden we hear this noise. And one of our members said, "Doesn't that sound like an alarm?" And he said, "Well, I'm not sure. Let me check on it." He came back, he said, "Yes, we have to evacuate. That is an alarm for an incoming aerial impact. We must evacuate the building." So we were on the 5th floor of the Hart Building, and we trooped down all the stairs under the supervision of the Capitol Police with all the staffers, and we streamed out of the building and down a few blocks, along with hundreds and hundreds of other Senate staffers. And we got safely away, which it was a drill, so we didn't really worry about danger. But I'm looking at my watch thinking, oh my goodness, we have our next meeting with Senator Booker in an hour and a half. What if we don't get back to the office on time? What if he has another person scheduled behind us and he doesn't have time to meet with us? And we're standing there. So I said, you know what? We're prepared. I'm just going to ask him. There was a nice tree. Can we just do our lobby day meeting right here under the tree? And he said, well, yeah, if you want to. So off we went, and we followed our talking points, and we, everyone followed their set points. He actually was very receptive. It was a great discussion, and some people got to make some comments other than it was all on point, but we had a little bit more discussion than what we had initially anticipated. So by the time we wrapped up our meeting, they were just about giving us the all clear, to head back into the Senate building. And we were able to go back and sort of wrap up and do some pictures with him and so on. So, the point of this little story, first of all, it was one heck of a first lobby day meeting on Capitol Hill. But second of all, by being prepared, we didn't get nervous. We didn't get off our talking points. We made our asks, and we had the flexibility to think on our feet and do things a little bit differently. And you're going to get hit with something that's a little bit different. Staffer might not have as much time as you think. Something else might happen. Hopefully it's not an evacuation from the building, but if you're prepared and you have everything set and you kind of are as much ready to go as when you walk in that door. Don't just kind of look at, oh, well, this is the guideline, we think we can do this, and then just sort of start talking, and then you haven't covered all your points, and you haven't asked for, you haven't made your asks, and you haven't followed up on all your, all the things that you want to follow up on. So doing the preparation ahead is really important to be ready for those curveballs, even doing a lobby day meeting under a tree. My other point was really brief. Mike asked me to mention this, that the congressman that in the district that I happened to be in, when I first got involved with American Promise back in 2017, I really wasn't aware of what his status was in terms of if he co-sponsored or what have you. But his brother happens to be, up to very recently and probably still now, the biggest political donor to politics in New Jersey. So we thought, oh God, there's no way he's going to be a co-sponsor. And not only was he's actually a co-sponsor for the, for the corporations are not people type. It's now HJ Res 48 in the Congress. So don't prejudge what somebody's position is going to be. The other thing we've learned this year especially is that as a few other, it was mentioned before, a lot more Republican receptivity to candidate pledges this year. Previously, we'd only ever gotten one each year, one Republican pledge signer, and we now have 4 with a 5th, really probably halfway there, and a few libertarian independents that are possibly also going to sign. So keep your mind open and just make your pitch and cover your bipartisan talking points. And I think that we're definitely making progress here. Back to you, Mike.
All right, thank you, Marie. Yeah, those are 2 great stories, and I think they make 2 of the most important points that we just need to think about at this stage in the process. I'm really glad that you told those stories, Marie. Being prepared is super important, but also, giving people an equal chance. And I've had many experiences myself with people. I can tell you an old story way back in 2014. There was a particular legislator that in the Vermont State House that everybody said, don't bother with. There's no way. Super, too conservative, super conservative. She'll never support this. And, I ignored them and I sat down with her and she looked at it and she's like, wow, she's like, this says freedom to me. Like this is what we need. And she ended up being one of our biggest champions, actually. So yeah, those stories are out there, and that's something that everyone should definitely be just conscious of as we approach these meetings, going into September. So thank you again, Ray. So the goal this year is going to be 100. We think we can do it. That's why we need as much help as we possibly can get. And I'm going to go through some of those details in a minute, but that's our goal this year for in-person meetings. The goal in the meetings, just to give you again a basic overview here, is going to be to move the elected official up the champion scale. And that's something that American Promise uses here to sort of keep track of a legislator's support on the amendment. So you can go from not knowing anything about it to all the way up to supporting it, to signing the pledge, to being a sponsor, and then ultimately to being a champion, which means you're advocating for it. You're helping us network, you're showing up to events for us, you're talking to your local media. You're really like, you get it, you understand the urgency and you're moving this thing forward. So, and of course they can go from opposed also to either neutral or ideally, being supportive. So that's sort of the way that we look at it. And the goal in a meeting is always to get it could be the elected official or it could be a staffer, but having staffers that are champions is also extremely important. So no matter who you're talking to about the amendment in this process, you want to be thinking about this, how can I get them to take the next level, get more committed, because they can always do more. And our bottom line is we're out of time here. We know you have a lot of priorities, but we need you to step up and champion this because we need to get this done. So that will be the goal of every meeting. And by the way, the last thing I'll say about that is it will depend on, I'll just go back to that really quick. It will depend on who you're meeting with, right? So these meetings will all be strategic. We're not going to get into that now, but you'll have a plan, you'll have information, resources, and background of the person that you're meeting with, and what you're trying to get them to do is going to be based off of that. So scheduling this year is actually going to be very easy. This is something I'm really excited about because I know that in the past, scheduling meetings and keeping track of all of them is a massive undertaking. So we're working with, her name is Amanda. She's with a company in DC that's helping us organize the event at the Mayflower. And she has agreed to take that on. She has experience doing it. She's got contacts down there. And she thought that it was going to go a lot smoother. Now, we still need constituents, which we'll talk about in a minute, very much. And she will do it on behalf of a constituent or constituents that we can get for each district. But she will be like the person taking all of that on. Again, we can, those details we'll get into later, but just kind of as an update, this is going to really help us concentrate on the recruiting rather than all the scheduling and just, getting more citizens into these meetings. So how to look up your member of Congress. This is pretty simple, but again, just want to make sure everyone knows how to do it. A really good website is house.gov. I won't go through it, but it's very straightforward. You can see if you go to that website, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a place to put your zip code in. You should be able to find your reps that way. You can, if you're looking for a senator, I would encourage you just to Google, find my US senator. But this is a really good website. It's a good starting point. I'm going to be working with people one-on-one. Anybody who has questions or isn't quite sure how to do it, as I'll talk about in a minute as well. But this is just a good place to start. Know who they are, know who your United rep is, know who your senators are. Leading up to NCLC, we're going to need point people in every single state to find constituents for as many districts as possible. And this is something that American Promise has done really well in the past, is organizing point people to kind of take the lead on knowing what districts are covered. If there's a district of someone that's really important, let's say a committee chair, our volunteer leaders in the past year have done a really good job of trying to go out and find people in those key districts and making it happen. So if you're on this call, if you're a new volunteer, if you're listening to this or watching this video later, just understand that we're going to need people in every state. We want 100 meetings, but we want to cover all across the United States. So each and every person that joins us and joins up for this conference and the lobby day is going to be extremely valuable. We really encourage you to attend all of the lobby day trainings leading up to the conference. There's going to be 4 total, and then a 5th one the day before the actual lobby day. So just a little bit more about the structure that you can expect on Citizen Lobby Day. So when you arrive, everyone is going to have a packet with instructions, map of the Capitol grounds, the group that you're going to be working with, any leaders, meeting times and notes, and all the resources. You will have that as soon as you get there. And we'll be going over all that stuff in the meetings ahead of time as well, just to make sure that you know what to expect as far as resources. Just know we're going to support you every step of the way in this process. And you will also attend an in-person training on September 28th. If you go to the conference and lobby day, it's going to be part of the actual conference, but they're also going to allow time to break out into teams. So you can, whoever you're going to be going to these meetings with from your state, you're going to have some time to break out, do some role playing, make sure everybody knows what their specific roles are in that meeting and what they're supposed to be saying, what resources you're bringing in, all of that you'll have time to do actually at the conference. And then on the morning of September 29th, the Citizen Lobby Day, everyone's going to meet early. It'll be 8 a.m. likely, but we'll get those details a little bit more locked in as we get closer. And then we'll be going to the Capitol building to conduct the meetings. We will very likely have a shuttle service. We're working out those details right now as well, but either way, it will be very coordinated, and you don't have to stress about any of that. Meetings will typically go from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. is going to be our target range for meetings. What to expect, like while you're actually in these meetings with legislators, very structured. And that's the way that we've always done it here at American Promise. There will be a point person who has experience talking about the amendment. There's ideally going to be someone who has a powerful personal story, if you can relate it to the district that the legislator lives in, even better. And ideally someone taking notes so that we don't lose the information, right? Because these conversations that we're having with these staffers and congresspeople are going to be, there's very valuable information. And again, like I said before, you will have a pre-prepared packet and a specific ask depending on the legislator that you're meeting with. And you should expect to meet with a member of Congress or with staff, and they are both critically important. So we can't stress that enough, the importance of staffers. They make stuff happen. They oftentimes have a pretty big say in what the legislator prioritizes and how much time they block off for certain meetings. So really keep that in mind. And building and maintaining positive personal relationships with staff and elected officials is always a top priority. I've had lots of personal experience with this myself. I've seen it time and time again. If they like you, if you have a connection with them, especially one that's built over time, there's just nothing more valuable. They're going to be so much more apt to give us that meeting, to push for the legislation, to speak on the floor or committee hearing, let's say when the legislation gets moving. These relationships are absolutely critically important. It's also very important to not ever get sidetracked with any pet issues or partisan issues. That's really a big part of maintaining that positive personal relationship. Our issue is not something that we should be arguing with anyone, right? Everybody, at least on some level, feels that our campaign finance system needs to be fixed. So you find that common ground and you connect with them and find out, what they're going to be willing to do to support our amendment in these meetings. Usually it's going to be an average of 3 people per meeting, but that will obviously vary depending on each specific situation. And I also want to let you know about future training. So we're going to offer now every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, volunteer support and training calls. And then as far as the next lobby day trainings, it's going to be August 31st. And that's when we'll get into more details about how to conduct the meeting, do some role playing as far as this is what a good meeting looks like. These are things to avoid in a meeting, things like that. And then we're going to do another one on September 14th, and then September 22nd, the week before, And then September 28th will be in person at the NCLC. So just want to go over a couple things that you can do right now. And one of them is sign up. I mean, if you're interested in coming to DC, we really would love to have you. It's going to be, like I said, a very fulfilling experience. I think it's going to be a great day. It's an opportunity to come and meet other civic-minded people that are standing up for our country and saying, we want an end to this corruption. And there's going to be a lot of energy there. It's going to be exciting. So first and foremost, definitely just go and sign up, register. If you can't go for any reason and you still would like to help us organize and promote it, we'd love to have you do that. And you can help just get your state ready to ratify. You know, that is our goal. Like, we're building out grassroots movements right now in every state, networking. That's citizens, businesses. We need active people building that power in each state. And for the newer people on the call, a first very easy action you can take is to just look up your members of Congress and start getting familiar with them. We're going to go over that at a later training as well, which is getting to know your officials, what their backgrounds are, what they've championed in the past. A really good tip that came out of some of the previous trainings I saw here at America Promise was to start off a meeting with a thank you, thanking them for something that they've done in the past. And it just creates a really good vibe right from the very beginning of a meeting. And that's what you want to go for. So being able to thank them for something that they've done in your community is just a great tip. So you could start that process now. You can look them up and start making your own notes. And if you want to do any of these things, organize, promote the Citizen Lobby Day, get active in your state, just contact me right now. That's the easiest way to do it. You can send me a text. I don't mind being contacted at any time. You can text or email, whatever you prefer. And I will set up a one-on-one meeting with you to go over very specific next steps. You know, it will totally depend on what your level of comfort is, you know, how much time you want to give and what you want to contribute here. So it would highly encourage anyone who's on this call right now or watching this later to just reach out to me directly. And I'll make sure that you get the support to get you going in your state. And that's what we're doing right now. We're starting to build this network all over the country. So a little late, but we did make it to the Q&A. So thanks, everyone. And let me just ask, Alan, do you have any questions?
There was a couple of questions in the chat. So let me go to the first one that I got in, which was, will there be virtual?
Yeah, great question. We're going to heavily emphasize in-person meetings. If for whatever reason that just can't happen with a certain office, you know, there might be some offices that simply aren't doing in-person meetings, right, because of the pandemic. For whatever reason, we will take the meeting. The answer is yes. We will do both. We'll be emphasizing in person, but we will take virtual meetings. Yes.
That came from Joan in New Jersey. Thank you, Joan. And next, Nancy's got a question. What is AP's process of getting Republican support for Brian's For Our Freedom Amendment? As of right now, many of us are continuing to try to get support on Senate Joint Res 25 and House Res 1.
We really want to push getting as many meetings as we possibly can, right? We can't control necessarily who we get for constituents in each district and who their legislators are, but we do really want to try to get as many conservative Republicans to support the For Our Freedom Amendment. That's the bottom line. Our plan as far as this lobby day, Citizen Lobby Day goes, is to make sure people are very well trained on how to speak about this amendment, because at its core, it's something that conservatives and Republicans absolutely believe in already. They already believe that the state should have the right to defend themselves, regulate, you know, how they see fit. They may not agree with on what that looks like, and it's not going to look the same for every legislator, but this concept, it is federalism. Conservatives, by and large, should be supporting this. So our case on the Citizen Lobby Day is just to make sure people are trained and know how to talk about it. You know, we get a couple to stand up and say, hey, you know what, these guys are right. Like, this is bipartisan, you know, I'm going to do this. And that dam breaks, and you get a handful of Republicans doing it, and then they start to follow their lead, and it's over at that point, right? And then we're going to win once that happens. So, and on top of that, you have a strategy to go after local businesses you know, and are ready to ratify strategy or Rotary's businesses that, you know, a lot of these elected officials might be responsive to in their respective states. But mostly, I think just getting more people able to talk about this in the right way is going to be very effective for that day.
If I can add to a tiny bit to that, to Nancy's point, HJR 1 and SJR 25 are identical. They are the exact same language, and were they to pass, there's the amendment. Now it's out for ratification. But we fear in this polarized Congress that while we still firmly believe in SJR 1 or SJR 25 and HJR 1, because they originated with Democrats in the House and then on in with Shaheen in the Senate, that if we really want to be strategic, we'll use the revised language, which is Brian's language, what Mike had read, which includes federalism and putting it back to the states and, you know, restoring this right. We have not introduced that with any Democrats. We don't present that to Democrats on the Hill. And so, to your point, if it's a Republican meeting, then yes, we will be exclusively talking about the For Our Freedom Amendment. If they ask, you know, which Democrats are on board, there are none. There are none on this language. This language is a conservative leaning bill, and we would like this to be championed on the right, as it should be, and then brought across the floor. So the strategy is, when talking to a Republican House member or senator for our freedom, and focus on the federalism aspect. And if you're talking to a Democrat who's either on HJR 1 or they were in the past, just remind them, thank them, ask them if they're not on there, just get back on there, and then really try to influence them to find a way to work across the aisle, find a way to bridge that divide. And it's a big ask, but that's the ask. Find colleagues that you've championed other bills with to help you get on board with this. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And to the question about the language of this conservative version, it is what we're calling the For Our Freedom Amendment. It was drafted by a large majority of legal scholars and public citizens, but I've linked you a page that has the background justification for each section, sort of the history of it, but it's nicely worded, and every Republican on the Hill that we have shown it to, they like it, they support it.
All right, well, we're over time. I guess I was over ambitious to try to fit that all in an hour. So I don't know if we'll try to do that again. Certainly the lobby day trainings from here will not try to be done in half an hour. That wasn't the intention anyway. It was only tonight because it was just a brief sort of overview. The other lobby day trainings will be the full hour. So we can really dive into it. But yeah, I think that's it. We can wrap up unless anyone has anything else they want to throw out or any questions before we hop off. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for joining, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. See y'all soon.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Alan. Great meeting.
Good
Thanks,
night.
everybody.